What's up, guys? Today I'm talking about spring options for your Jeep XJ and why I'm going to go from this one to this one, although they look exactly the same. When I bought this Jeep XJ, it had a 3-inch rough country suspension lift on it, which by nature has a little bit of a rake to it. Not a huge fan of that, but with the added weight of the steel bumper that this one has, that rake was very much exaggerated and really did not look good. Not to mention added a little bit of tire rub that I needed to get rid of. So what happened is I removed this stock spring isolator and put on a larger one, giving me the extra height I needed to not only level the Jeep out, but remove that tire rub that I was having. The only issue is the minute I put this larger spacer on, I immediately felt that my stability had dropped and the Jeep did start to wander around the road quite a bit more. So for whatever reason, although these are significantly larger than the stock ones, this added height did move my stability from being confident to not so confident. And that's not a good thing. This side over here, this is the Rubicon Express 3.5-inch spring with a stock isolator. Now this should put me at the same ride height as the rough country with this added spacer. Now again, they look exactly the same, we're pretty close to, so you're probably wondering how is this going to change anything. Difference is by removing this and adding this, it should give me my stability back. But the big difference comes in the spring rate. This one, if I put it on the ground and put my weight on it, I can start to compress this myself. So imagine that with the weight of the Jeep on it, it does compress quite a bit. This one from Rubicon Express has 240-pound spring rate to it, and I cannot compress this myself. So this should add much more stability to the front of the Jeep and give me that ride height I'm looking for without adding this big wobbly spacer. Now I do wish I knew the spring rate for the rough country spring. If you know it, please put it down in the comments because I cannot find it anywhere, but it's got to be soft. I know the stock rating is, I think, 150 pounds. So going to 240 is a pretty big jump. It's probably going to stiffen the ride. But then again, I don't know. I'm going back with an original spacer and we'll just got to wait and see what happens. But first thing I want to do is talk about the ride height. So we're going to put this one in, then we'll take it out on the road and talk about the ride quality. Settled the wheel and tire back on and torque the specs. I'm just going to go over to the other side, finish that up, and then we can give it a test drive. All right, so I got cleaned up. It is the next day. Time to take this for a test drive. Got a little late last night to do it, so we're going to do it now. I will say, just from initial appearance, the ride height looks about the same, but the new setup is just a smidge taller. I took a tape measure to it. It's about 1/4 to almost 3/8 of an inch taller than the old setup. But then again, these springs are also new, so they haven't settled yet. So we'll see if that changes in the near future. But all right, let's get out of the neighborhood. I will say immediately I can feel there's less slop in the front end. So removing that big tall spacer and putting the original rubber isolator on there, which was much smaller, did make a big difference already. I haven't even gotten out of the neighborhood yet. The steering definitely has less play in it, less slop to it. So it feels a lot better already. The big test is when we get out on the highway and how it's going to feel then. Because that's where I get the most sway and wander out of this Jeep, but it already feels a heck of a lot better. The ride quality actually isn't bad. I don't feel like that's changed a whole lot either. Definitely feels more stable. Again, I'm gonna wait till I get the higher speeds. But for a 240-pound spring rate, as opposed to whatever the rough country was, this feels a lot better. Railroad track test coming up. That is actually a lot smoother than the rough country, for sure. Another set of railroad tracks. That's impressive. It's definitely a lot more stable and a lot smoother than the rough country was. The rough country springs were very soft, and I guess that also equated to a lot of the swaying and the body roll and things like that. I did notice when I was jacking the Jeep up and down that now with the new springs, the articulation isn't quite as aggressive as it was with the rough country springs. With the rough country springs, I did take it to Ross Creek Off-Road Park, and that thing would articulate almost all the way up into the fender well, and I wouldn't feel the Jeep move. It was like perfect setup for off-roading, but not for the road. So if you drive your Jeep more on the street, it's not going to give you a good ride. But now with the Rubicon Express, I don't know how the articulation is going to be because I haven't really tested it too much, but it's definitely a better ride for the street, I think, than the rough country. Alright, so time to merge onto the highway and see what it's like at highway speeds. Alright, so this is a very windy day, so I don't know if this is a great time to test stability, but that being said, this definitely does not wander nearly as much as it used to. Currently doing 75 miles an hour on a very windy day in a lifted Jeep, which initially sounds like suicide, and I'm pretty comfortable. It's actually pretty stable, and I'm very happy. Ride quality is really good, a lot better than it used to be, and I can look at it, take my hands off the Jeep at 75 miles an hour. How many people can do that? Rubicon Express springs for the win, for sure. If your Jeep is driven more on the street, Rubicon Express. But if it's a trail rig, I think I would like the rough country more for the ease of articulation. But I am going to test the articulation a little bit later. Make sure you let me know what your experiences are with both Rubicon Express and rough country springs. As of right now, for a street Jeep that does some occasional off-roading, I'm loving the Rubicon Express. If I did a lot more off-roading, the rough country springs are definitely a lot softer and definitely allow for more articulation much easier. But let me know what your thoughts are. I'm pretty happy with this setup. Hit that subscribe button on your way out, and please drop a like on the video for me. I would greatly appreciate it. I'm Kevin, and I'll see you in the next upload.